Welcome to day 4, lab 1. In this lab, we'll try to understand a very important concept called as class and objects. Okay. Now, what we have here, so till now we have created this nice customer data entry screen where we can go and enter the customer name, country name, and then once we click on preview, it shows us the complete output we have entered. In the same way, the way we have data entry screens, I also would like to have some kind of a search screen where a user can go and do searching by using customer name or country name. Okay, so let me go and create a new form here, where a person can go and type in the customer name and click on the search button, and as soon as he clicks on the search button, all the data will be displayed in a grid. Right, so let me close this application here and let me go to my Solution Explorer. So view, Solution Explorer, and I will go and add a form here. So let me go and add a very simple form here, and let's click on Windows form here, and let's create a new form called as FRM search customers. So the first thing is, let's go to the toolbox and drag and drop a text box and a button. Okay, so in the text box the user can go and type in the customer name and then hit the button. That button we can name it as a search button. Okay, so let me go and first put a label here saying that yes, a label, a text box, and a button. Okay, so I'll say that in this label I'll say yes, this saying enter customer name, enter customer name, and this text box I'll give it as txt search customer. So I'll say txt search customer, and the button I will give a nice name here saying btn search customer, and in the text I will the display right on the button currently is button 1, which doesn't look good, so we'll say search customer. Great, so we have a nice screen here now, where a person can go and enter the customer name and he can hit on the search button. Now the time he hits on the search button, all the data will be displayed in a grid. So let's go to a toolbox here and let's go and search for the grid control. So go and expand the data section over here, and on this data section you can see there's a nice control here called as a data grid view. Now remember that there are a lot of controls there to display data in a grid, but this data grid view is the most used control. So in our application we're going to use this. So let's go and drag and drop this data grid view here, and for now don't do anything, just keep it as it is, and I'll say that yes, when the user goes and types in a customer name and hits the search button, it will go and display the data inside this grid view. Now also what we like to do is we'd like to go and add this form to our menu, to our MDI parent menu. Okay, so let me go and add one more menu item here. So I'll say insert menu item, and we'll call this menu as search customer. Right, so as soon as somebody clicks on the search customer, that form will be displayed, that is FRM search customer. So let's double click on this menu, and we'll say here this is our form name, that is FRM search customer. So we'll say FRM search customer obj is equal to new FRM search customer. In this today's what you call class, we're going to understand about this new keyword and objects. So till now, whichever this code which you were typing monotonously, we will try to understand the concept about the same. Okay, so I'll say obj.mdi parent, please refer this as your MDI parent. So MDI parent is this, and I'll say obj.show. Right, great. So now if I do a control F5, so I can see that I have a nice search customer here. Also I can go and enter data by using the data entry screen. So you can see that now our application has started taking up its shape. Right, now we would like to go and start putting some validations here. In other words, now you can see that if you see both the screens, right, one of the validations which we would like to put is, if the end user does not enter the customer name, we would like to give him an alert saying that customer name is compulsory. For example, this customer data entry screen here, right, if the person doesn't put any data here, and if he clicks on the preview button, I would like to put up an alert saying that customer name is compulsory. In the same way, over here also, if he doesn't put anything over here and hits the search customer, then I would like to put an alert screen here, or alert message saying that please enter some data. Right, so for that I'll quickly go and start putting the validations. So let's go here. So let's go to View Solution Explorer. So in the create customer, when he clicks on the preview button, so we will say here, if txt customer name dot text dot length, if it is equal to 0, then let's go and put a message box here. So we'll say message box dot show, we'll say customer name is very much compulsory. Okay, and if he comes inside this if condition, I'll just say return false. I'll just return back from here. In other words, I don't want the program to start executing the other lines of code down below. Okay, and the same kind of validation I will also put in my search customer here. So when anybody clicks on the search customer, so let me go to my search customer here. So anybody who clicks on the search customer and he does not put any data into this text box, the same kind of logic I will put over here. So here we'll say again the same kind of logic. We'll say txt customer name, txt search customer dot text with length equal to 0. We'll say message box dot show, customer name is compulsory. And again from here we'll say return back, and we do not want the below lines of code to execute. So in other words, here the execution will not come if the customer name is not entered. Okay, it will just return back from the if condition. Right, so while we were coding this, while I was coding this logic, right, this validation logic, did you notice that we have started entering into a typical problem? The problem is duplicate coding. The check of customer name length 0 is over here, as well as in our create screen. Okay, and tomorrow, for heaven's sake, if someone says that, okay, I want to put one more validation here saying, okay, the length is 0 and the length should be less than 5 characters, or less than 10 characters. So you will go and modify here, you will put one more and condition here, and also you will go and modify here, right? And let's say if you have hundreds of screens like this, which is very much possible when you have a big project, you are going and putting things everywhere, which will become a maintenance nightmare. So if somehow we are able to take this logic and centralize it in some place and then call it, that would really make everyone's life easier. And that's where we have something called as classes. So what I'll do is, let me go and add a class file now. A class file is, you can think about a class as a template. A template, where you go and put your reusable code, and then that class can be called from your code anywhere by creating objects. Okay, so first thing, let's go ahead and add a class. So let's click on add new item, and we'll say class, and this class name we'll say as validations. Okay, or I'll say common code, must be, that's more appropriate here, because it's possible that I will put length check, I'll put some other check, email check, or whatever it is. And here I will say, okay, go and create a simple subroutine here, a simple function which returns true or false, and I'll say check validation. And to this check validation function, I'll go and pass the customer name. Okay, and I will put all my validations over here. Now what will happen with this approach is that, if tomorrow you want to go and do modifications, right, you will just go and modify in this place here, rather than modifying everywhere else. Okay, so let me go and make this as a public class so that it can be called everywhere. Right, so I'll say here, if customer name dot length, if it is equal to 0, then I will say return false, right, or else everything is fine and you return true. Now this is going very good, very nice. We have centralized our code into this class called as common code. But now the next thing is that how do we call this class, in those forms? If you remember, right, the definition what I said about the class is that class is a template, it is a blueprint. Okay, now in order to use the class in your form, you have to create something called as the object. So let's go to a form now, and we'll try to create an object, and we'll try to invoke this check validation function here. So let us go first to the search screen. So let's go here, and we'll say here, okay, first we have to create the object of the class. When we say create the object of the class, means bring that class code live into the memory so that it can be invoked. So I'll say here the name of our class was common code. So I'll say here, please go ahead and create the object of common code. So we'll say common code object is equal to new common code. So this new keyword signifies that bring this code alive into memory, and then we can say, okay, now I would like to go and check if obj dot check validation, so give your text box data now to this object here. Now if the validation is equal to false, in other words, if he returns false, then you'll say that, okay, you'll go and display this message here saying customer name is compulsory. Okay, in the same way, I'll take this code here, I'll copy paste this code for now, and I will go to my create customer here, and I will paste the code here also. So now what has happened is, definitely here the text box name is different, I think txt customer name, right? So now what has happened is, all the validations checks are now done from this function here called as check validation, which is centralized in this common code class. In simple words, if tomorrow if you want to go and change any kind of logic regarding the customer name validation, we just go and update in this place, and it gets updated all over my forms. Okay, so in other words, classes helps you to increase reusability. So rather than scattering your code in different user interfaces, just go ahead and create a class, and then basically go and create objects of those classes wherever you need in your user interface, right? So just revising, classes are templates, while objects they bring life into the class so that you can invoke the class logic from your user interface or from any place you want. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. In this video we were trying to understand how classes and objects helps you to increase reusability in your C# applications. Now, as usual, I would like you to go and see some videos again for today, and these videos are very, very important, because when we talk about classes and objects, we enter into a different world altogether called as object-oriented programming. So what my suggestion would be, go and log into your Questpon video account, go and search for object-oriented programming Q&A video series. Now you can see there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15, I think 15 or 16 videos are there in this. Each one of them must be like 10 minutes, so you can think about must be 2 or 3 hours. So for today, I will not be taking any more new labs, but I would like you guys to go and see all these videos. Take your days off, don't do too much practical, but go and see all these videos and try to understand the 4 important principles of object-oriented programming: inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, and abstraction. Okay, so I would like you to go and see all these videos, and in case you have any kind of questions, always go ahead and add us on Skype, so that we can help you out. So in today's lab, what we did is we were trying to understand what are classes and objects, and at the same time, I have introduced to you a complete different chapter altogether called as object-oriented programming series, and I would like you guys to go and see them step by step, one by one, and meet you again tomorrow for day 6, where we will go and get into a new thing called as databases. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. In the next day, we will talk about databases.